Hello.
Good evening to all.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Jasnit Bindra, sir.
Hi, good evening.
Dr. S.K. Gupta, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And Dr. Kulkarni, sir. We have great panelists today. And we have very interesting topic we have selected. that is MBA specialization to choose. It's a very burning question or a lot of dilemma students face when choosing their specialization, because this specialization sticks to them for their life, and their choices are no, either broadened or restricted due to this no, choosing of specialization. Many people will not have much idea what type of careers are opening for them when they choose their specialization, what type of scope is available when they choose either finance or marketing or HR or dual specialization, and the type of corporate avenues available. The very top experts are aware with us today to throw light on the actual things, because in academics our idea is limited, but people who are having wide exposure like Dr. Gupta sir and Jasneet sir is a very distinguished person. In fact, Jasneet Bindra sir is a country head of CISI, very reputed international institute on capital markets, securities markets. In fact, we're fortunate to have him to throw light upon opportunities in securities markets, financial markets, which are growing huge in India. Of course, the Indian stock markets are becoming world the rankings, and known to all the people. A lot of opportunities are available, and we have just need sir to throw light on that, and Kulkarni sir on marketing. So the flow is like this. What I will do is I will ask each panelist, our distinguished guests of today, to discuss for 3 to 4 minutes their initially their opinions on their chosen field of specialization, and how they see the corporate field evolving, and how students can choose their specialization. Then we will go for different type of questions. So I request the distinguished panelists each 4 to 5 minutes to generally throw light upon their chosen area. So may I go with Jasneet sir, because he's from the CISI.
Hi, good evening. I hope I'm audible. That's the first question nowadays you ask on the online meeting. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very clear.
Great. It is great to be a part of this discussion, and especially during COVID times, we used to have a lot of these discussions online. And recently, now the markets have opened up. So, I've also been traveling a lot. In fact, last 30, 40 days, almost 50% of my time have been traveling to cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Gurgaon. There's a specific reason why I'm naming all these cities, because this is where most of the global banks have set up their captives. Uh, you name the companies, whether it's a JP Morgan or a Goldman Sachs or a Barclays, Deutsche, all of them have their captives in India. If you go to Bangalore, Hyderabad, Gurgaon, and predominantly what they're doing over here is the back end work. Fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of students are not aware about exactly what they do. So, and I've been working with a lot of colleges, universities for the past about 7 to 8 years. I mean, to give my background, I'm an MBA in finance myself. I did my MBA, completed my MBA in 2010 from IMA Belgium, and I was faced with the same question which you asked some time back: which specialization to choose? Because that is a burning question which a lot of students have. Uh, but fortunately, today's generation, not that I'm very old, but today's generation have a lot of avenues and a lot of options available, because whether you call it internet of age or whether you call it information generation, uh, everything is very freely available nowadays. In fact, when I was also graduating, post-graduating, things were, I mean, internet was there, but still we used to spend a lot of time in the library trying to prepare projects, trying to find the right resources and right, paths for our research, as well. So those things, in a way, have been made easy in the last couple of years. When I talk about the curriculum, fortunately or unfortunately, uh, the colleges and universities are still lagging behind on the curriculum side because, and I face the same issue, where only 20% of my theoretical knowledge was applicable and useful on the job. Remaining 70 to 75% actually I had to learn while I started. I started my career at Deutsche Bank for the first couple of years before I moved into CISI. And I very quickly realized that a lot of these areas that is being done in the financial services world is something which is not even covered as part of our specialization in MBAs, which is changing in the last couple of years, especially if you talk about deemed universities, if you talk about colleges which has got autonomy, colleges like yourself, where they have the flexibility of updating the curriculum. And we have seen a step in the right direction, especially with the new national education policy, where a lot of emphasis have been on industry academia connects on professional learning and how we can leverage from that and offer the students learning which is up to date, learning which will be helpful them on the job, learning which is also practical in nature. Now, the first probably submission which I have is whether you're choosing finance, marketing, HR, or you have an entrepreneur's mindset. I think it's very important to follow your passion firstly. You need to know what are the areas in which you're good in. It is very important to to do that filtration right at the outset, right? Now you could be passionate about something, but if you're not good at it, then it is important to think about how I can upskill myself in that area. Then once you have made up your mind, I think you should start working towards setting up your focus toward that specialization. When I talk about finance, and I'll not overrun my initial talk. When I talk about finance itself, what students need to also understand is finance itself is like an ocean, right? Finance has got a front office, it's got a middle office, it's got a back office. You need to understand which area of financial services again you're keen on and where do you want to do a special super specialization. When I talk about front office, of course, there is wealth management, there's corporate finance. These are roles in which you are you're client facing mostly. Then you have a middle office which works as a bridge between the front office and the back office, where you have the risk and compliance roles. And then finally, you have the back office where you have, India is a hub for back office. If you look at investment banking operations, if you look at the captives, most of them are doing, their back office, back end work over here, right? So one needs to be very, very also clear after you decide which specialization you want to choose. You need to also understand which area of financial services you want to be a part of. Also, I was doing some research the other day, and I got to know that finance. If you look at finance, it employs about 40 to 45% jobs in India, especially when you talk about B schools, are somewhere or the other related to financial services, right? Whether these are IT enabled services, whether they are BFSI, investment banking side, you need to have basic knowledge of financial services, right? In the last couple of years, as you're speaking right now, uh, amalgamation of finance, technology, and operations, there's a very thin line between all these areas now. And a student who chooses a specialization in finance needs to be very, very sure about the fact that you also need to have knowledge and information about operations, financial technology, what we've popularly called as fintech nowadays, right? So again, like I said, the line has become so thin that we need to be T-shaped. When I say T-shaped, I'm talking about the alphabet T, where you need to have good knowledge in most of the areas, but a super specialization at least in one area, which can be finance. So with that opening thought, I would give it back to you, Dr. Ganglian. And that's my initial submission to all the students who have joined us today. Thank you. Dr. Dhananjay, I'm done with my opening remarks. So maybe if the other panelist wants to come in.
Okay, sure. So thank you, Jasmeet Mindraji, and for your opening remarks on the domain of finance. I am also from the domain of finance only, so I'm only going to supplement some of your thoughts and views that you have had. Let me first try and give you a broad perspective of the kind of business and economic environment the world is passing through, including India. You would all tend to agree with me that the world is changing, and it is changing very, very significantly and very rapidly. It's all VUCA world all around, which is highly vulnerable, very, very uncertain, hugely complex, and very, very ambiguous. I'm not only talking about last 2.5 years, when the world as a whole has been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic situation, but even otherwise, if you look back 2 or 3 decades, the world is very different today. The way we live our life, the way we work in different organizations, operations, business models, everything has changed quite a bit over the period of last about 2 or 3 decades. Today, we see in the marketplace some very, very disruptive business models. Look at Uber's business model. Largest travel car company of the world, but they don't own even a single car of their own. Look at Airbnb, world's largest travel lodging company, but they don't own a single hotel property. Amazon, the world's largest retailer, without having even one single brick and mortar store. Amazingly disruptive business models that we are looking at in the marketplace today, which were kind of unheard of till about a few decades back. But these are the realities of the business today. But if you look at new age so-called startups of today, in which India is, of course, taking a big leap. India is placed at number 3rd position in the world in terms of number of startups happening, in terms of unicorns. And also the so-called traditional, old, well-established, sustainable companies. We find that many of these businesses today have profitless turnover. They have a great top line, but end of the day, probably there's no profit. Or many of these companies have cashless profit. They have probably good enough bottom line, but end of the day, they don't have cash or adequate liquidity. But when you look at the valuation of these companies, wow, skyrocketing, soaring very, very high. So why I'm telling you all this broad perspective is that the business world today is very highly dynamic, very, very volatile, ambiguous, highly competitive, but at the same time, it has changed a lot over the period of last about 2 or 3 decades. And why finance has come into focus is that end of the day, whatever the company does, whether it is into the manufacturing space or the trading space or consulting space, all the stakeholders are want the company to create value for them. They want the company to preserve that value, and they want the company to be able to grow and sustain that value going forward in the future. Value creation, value preservation, and value growth are the key success mantras for the businesses going forward. Now, in the whole process of value creation, of course, everyone plays a part in that. Marketing has a role, R&D has a role, your inventory management has a role, but then definitely the pivotal role in the process of creation of value for the stakeholder lies with the finance department. Finance has a very, very critical role to play in any and every company for that matter, starting with deciding how much investment you need to make in order to make a company operational. That's a capital investment decision that you have to make, sort of capital budgeting. Then the next thing that you've got to figure out is, how do I get those kind of funds? Where do I get those kind of funds? As the students would know, broadly, we have 2 different sources of capital. You have equity capital and you have debt capital. Of course, there are various instruments which we use within each one of these categories, but broad classification is equity capital and debt capital. And besides the capital structure, which is the proportion of equity and debt capital introduced by the company, you also got to manage day-to-day operations of the company by way of managing working capital effectively. There have been many companies in the marketplace real life would not be able to survive long term because either they were inadequately financed or they were inappropriately financed. The capital structure was not proper, or maybe that they did not really have good enough, adequate amount of working capital to be able to carry on their operations, day-to-day operation in an efficient and effective manner. Finance is now becoming an exciting global opportunity, and there is high demand for the finance professionals all across the world. Mr. Jasmeet gave the numbers that about 40-45% of the jobs in India are in the finance domain. I'm sure this is going to be representative of the proportion of jobs available in other parts of the world as well, in all kinds of jurisdictions. That's because finance sector is one of the most forward-thinking domains where you are trying to develop your focus, you're trying to work around different laws, different regulations, different accounting standards, trying to work out what works best for the industry for which you are working for. And as the global finance industry continues to grow, so does the numbers in terms of employment, in terms of the job profiles which are available, right from traditional accounting job to investment banking job to becoming a broker, a merchant banker, to a venture capitalist, to equity research analyst, to a whole lot of different job options which are available there. Now, before I stop putting an end to my opening remarks here, I would just like to share with you a real life incident which happened with me in one of my companies where I was heading the finance department. We were interviewing people for the position of manager finance, and a few candidates had been shortlisted. 4 of them were MBA finance candidate. One candidate, topper of his batch, very good academic record. He appeared before us, and we asked him 10 questions. Of course, I was supported by 2 other interview board members with me. We asked him about 10 questions, and he answered 9 questions point blank. He was so thorough. He was so academically brilliant that he immediately knew the answer as soon as a question was posed to him. It was only in one of the questions that he faltered, and he said, "Sir, I really don't know, but can I make a guess?" And lo, even the guess that he made turned out to be the correct answer. We said thank you to him. He was pretty happy with his performance in the interview. He came out of the interview room, talked to everyone present there, called up his parents. "I've done exceedingly well in my interview. I'm very, very excited about the whole thing. I think it went off very, very well." This was the outside story. What happened inside the interview board? 3 of us were sitting on revolving chairs with wheels at the base of the chairs. Someone turned around me and he said, "Sir, I could not see the kind of spark that we are looking for in the candidate. I could not see the kind of spark that we are looking for in the candidate." All of us tended to agree with him, and that was the end of that candidate's fate so far as our company was concerned. The point is that I'm making here in the opening remarks and the opening perspective is that only academic brilliance, whatever little is taught, of course, I agree with Jasmeet, I echo his views that the syllabi that we have in the educational system in India, maybe even outside, it doesn't really provide you real life situational problems, challenges, perspective. But nonetheless, whatever knowledge you have, that's good enough. But beyond that, you need to have a passion. You need to have a fire in your belly. You need to be very, very energetic. You need to be enthusiastic about the whole thing. And it's all about your learnable skills, learnability. Nobody is expecting you to be an expert because you're straight away coming from a college or an institution, B school. But what we are looking for in the employment space is you've got to be learnable. You must have learnability skills, how fast you can pick up the tricks of the trade. And that's where somehow for this particular candidate, all 3 of us agreed that he did not really have what we wanted him to have. So he could not be placed in our particular company. That's where for the moment where I'd stop. I'll wait for some more questions, queries, wherever I can respond.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to now request Dr. Sunil Kulkarni, sir, to
Yes.
focus on marketing, to throw some light on what type of opportunities are available and what type of personality is suited for marketing jobs and careers, and how students can opt for marketing and their these type of details. I request Sunil Kulkarni, sir.
Yeah. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
please.
Yes, sir. Very much.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. And as earlier commented by Dr. Gupta and Mr. Bindra, I think everybody knows the volatile world and the changes which have come through in the last decade. I would like to add something more in terms of changed business scenario of pre-1991, post-1991, and so that I will be in a position to give some idea about the changes in the marketing domain. I have been in this management education field in Mumbai since the last 25 years as a professor mainly. Mr. Bindra seems to be a young man from the academics, from the industry. So the point which I would like to say in particularly Indian environment, when we look at the business, the major shift happened in 1991. And that created or that exposed we as a country and our business people to global market and global competition and international taste and flavor. And naturally, when those foreign companies came and then Indian companies have to compete, then marketing's role came into picture, and we needed brand managers and strategy people. And we also needed merger and acquisition experts to work closely with these international companies. So that era of international companies entering into India and making international products available to Indian consumers created a two-way sort of opportunities. We as an Indian consumer started to buy foreign products. So, and we also came to know the international companies' branding and marketing strategies and their advertising things. And from there, today we are at a position in 2022 where most of our millennials are, my son is watching American shows and he's looking at international sports and international things. So this is the changed business scenario of Indian business environment and thereby Indian consumers and customers, including us. And if we stick to changes in marketing, then we can say that the retail industry came somewhere. Before that, we were all traditional marketers, wholesaler, retailer, distributors, factory, that kind of a setup. But when retail came, that created one more big shift in India's businesses, which was both beneficial for the customers and the companies also. The next big shift we can say is about the social media and digital. That is what we are seeing today. So when I look as a marketing professor, I really don't want these young generation or who are watching this program to really don't get bogged down by this marketing or finance, because in future, this is not going to remain same for your generation. There will be changes after every 2-3 years, and you need to be, our times that specialization did hold us and we could hold it for a longer time. The situation was like that. But in today's world and the next years going to come, where we will have AI and machine learning and business analytics, and so sticking to one specialization is not advisable also, in fact. So what Mr. Bindra said, you basically stick to, as far as your passion is concerned, that main T type that you find out, and that will be your horizontal axis of the the vertical axis of the T. And in horizontal, you can keep all your areas of liking. And I would suggest you to, be ready in fact, your colleges and universities are these days offering dual specialization, marketing, HR, marketing, operations, marketing, finance, and many young generation is going for that kind of specialization also. That shows that we will be needing multi-skilled, multi-talented young people with particular inclination or interest towards artificial intelligence, machine learning, business analytics, those kinds of domains. So you may go for a dual specialization, or you can go for one specialization which is based on your passion, and all other related certifications or other areas of knowledge. But I really don't advise the young people to stick to one kind of thing. Even in marketing also, since I have been a marketer, and I have seen the sales domain India present, and we have gone through that sales thing. Then we came retail malls, where you got this shop experience, consumer behavior coming in more into picture, and with now digital and social media marketing avenues opening up, I think you can be creative, you can use your technological understanding, liking in digital marketing also, and you can do a job along with sales, or together sales and digital marketing, those kinds of profiles. But if you look, as Dr. Gupta mentioned, the new age companies and Googles and Facebook and Amazon and these kinds of companies coming into business, I think having a multi exposure, finance also, marketing, you are good at operations and supply chain, because Amazon will require those kinds of profiles, online buying, selling. So I think it is better to less emphasize your core specialization. At the same time, you should have some basic passion and interest, and you build around that interest. And the model which I advise our young students is, there is this Japanese concept called Ikigai. And if you are really want to make a choice about career and the specialization, that Ikigai concept could be largely helpful, because it talks of your interest, it talks of future demand, it talks of where you can earn money. It's not just passion. Passion should give you economic returns, and it should hold also next few years. If somebody is young engineer here, he will be spending almost 25 years now in future. So that the line which he pursues should have, he should keep that in mind. Yeah, I want to be in the career as a job or an entrepreneur or a business for next 25-30 active years. And what is going to be the future? And I'm sure it is going to change at a very rapid pace every 3 years or every 5 years. So you need to keep, I think the one most important thing is, whatever specialization you choose, I would suggest you to be a constant learner. That is what will be in terms of attitude, and that is what is the habit. So whatever you choose, you choose it, and you keep upgrading and learning. If you get opportunities to go to big companies, do that job rotation. They switch marketing people to finance to factory to corporate office, registered office, branch office, tier 2 office. So that kind of exposure will give you more solid footing. So although I am from marketing and I am more or less stuck to marketing, for the next coming generations, I will advise to go for dual, or one major, one minor, few certifications, and keep your what you can choose is the industry or the vertical. I mean, what you should emphasize or think more about is whether you want to be a generalist or specialist or a super specialist. These are the more 3 lines of thoughts which you should give more thought than the functional specialization. So I think with this, let us listen to the young people. And thank you, Dr. Gupta and Mr. Bindra. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I will again come back to Jasmeet, sir. Sir, I have a dilemma that this MBA is becoming too generalized, and many people debate that no, this MBA degree is losing its relevance. So, how to we add power to this, like any sort of special certification. Suppose one is interested in finance, what type of certifications or skills he can add so that he will be readily employable. Say an MBA, a fresh graduate interested in finance, what type of certifications or skills he should focus on? I would like to hear from Jasneet, sir.
Thanks for that question, Dr. Dhananjay. I'll probably give you a personal example. So we have been working very closely with universities for past about 7 to 8 years, and this is a tried and tested formula which is working really well. So I came across a concept called as capacity building in the year 2014, where corporates were telling me that we go to MBA colleges, we hire students. The problem is that we still find a lot of gap in the kind of knowledge that they come with, and so we have to spend about 6 to 8 months on training them on the process. We spend our time, money, energy, and a lot of them by the end of 8-9 months leave the company. As a result, it's a difficult situation for everyone. The candidate has not learned much and has realized that this is not the field I want to be a part of. The corporates have spent about 7 to 8 months on trying to upskill this candidate and has clearly not benefited out of that particular candidate. However, having said that, they told us that why don't you reach out to campuses where we hire from. So the advantage that they had with so we offer a lot of courses, curriculum which is actually meant for different areas of financial services, whether it's risk management, whether it's wealth management, investment banking, compliance. And they said that any which ways we are doing these programs for our own employees. If we get students who have already done this, we are happy to hire them. It doesn't matter which college they come from. For us, content is the king, still is the king. So reputation, we can keep it aside. Even if it's a tier 2, tier 3 college, but the student has the right skill sets, we'll go ahead and hire them. So we started at about 3-4 colleges, some of them in Bangalore, some of them in Chennai, Hyderabad. We started south because the problem we saw in for example, Maharashtra. So our office is in Mumbai, and probably Mr. Kulkarni would know this, that in Mumbai, you have a lot of colleges which are affiliated to the Mumbai University. They don't have the flexibility of changing the curriculum. But down south, we came across a lot of deemed universities and colleges which were quite happy to revamp their syllabuses. I'm talking about in 2014-15. As a result, what happened was we got people from the industry to come and train for these programs. So as and when the students were studying in their MBA in the first and second years, they were not only doing a professional certification, which was real time and absolutely updated on content wise, regulation wise, but they were also being handheld and mentored by people who are working in the industry themselves, who actually came and taught them, okay, you're learning, let's say, a concept on derivatives or private equity, or let's say bonds, forex, and this is how it is applicable on the process, on the job, right? If you're doing, for example, learning on a trade life cycle, what is the journey a trade life cycle goes through? And they started giving them real life examples. And this really clicked very well with the student fraternity. They saw that, okay, fine, what I'm studying is something which is real time. What I'm studying is something which is applicable on the job and very practical in nature, right? And we saw that, so we heard about dual specialization. So along with their regular post-graduation certification, they were doing a finance qualification from us as well, which actually helped the recruiters as well as the colleges. Because some of these global banks and some of these financial services firms were not coming to those colleges, but they came on the virtue of the content which was delivered at that particular university. And when these students were picked up, when they were hired, so one is the number of students hired went up. And second was the training time was drastically reduced. They felt that, okay, the basics and the basis have been covered by the virtue of professional certification. So my training time to these students are not 6 months, it's about 2 months now. So I can bring them on the process much faster. And as a result, the student was also happy because they had learned the concept while they were still in college. And by the time they came to the companies, they were able to grasp and understand these concepts in a much more easier way. So this, we call it as capacity building. And as I said, it's been working beautifully for past about 8 years now. And as I speak to all of you all today, I've got mandate, although we are not into placements, we are a professional certification body, but 15 corporates on financial services roles, whether it's investment banking, corporate actions, or whether it's middle office, back office, they have given us a mandate that wherever, whichever universities you're offering your curriculum, we want to come and look at those students, because the sample size that we have suggests that these students stay longer, they grasp much faster, they grow much faster. So that is one way which, again, the last 8 years has worked really well. And I'll just not stick to, our certifications, but even people who have done ACCA, CFA, any sort of other professional certification also, what you've seen is that, they have been employable in the market. They definitely have a knowledge which is cut above the rest. And I'll probably also speak about another area which is called as bite-size certifications. Now, for example, if I talk about CISI, some of the areas which the panelists spoke about, financial technology, fintech, artificial intelligence, blockchain, cryptos. Now RBI is coming with its own digital currency, right? All these concepts, we have, for example, bite-size certifications, which does not even take more than 6 hours for a candidate to do a self-study and clear it. But what it does is, in those 6 hours, it gives you a broad and clear understanding of these particular concepts, which are very much going to be future learning. Areas like ESG, sustainability, green finance, climate risk, cybersecurity. These are probably future jobs which are waiting to be taken in a way that, the demand is absolutely high, but we don't have much supply. Now, I interact with a lot of senior people. They tell me that, every department, every company is going to be having an ESG department, where they will be evaluating the sustainability of the products and services that they offer. But the problem is that we don't find people for it. So, we had the first mover advantage, where we launched our ESG certification at the COP26 2 years back. And as a result, what is happening is a lot of international firms are looking at students who have that sort of learning, right? Because again, simple economics, right? Demand and supply issue. And these are, again, very well paid jobs, again, for the same economics, that you don't get the right talent for that. Now, for example, what happened in 2008, the global meltdown, risk compliance became talk point of all the boardroom meetings because of the global recession. And as a result, in 2011, according to the AC Nielsen survey, risk and compliance were the highest paid jobs in most part of the world, right? And today, as we see, every big company has got a very robust risk and compliance department. So as students, I think they should start thinking of the future learning areas also, like areas like cybersecurity, areas like ESG, sustainability, climate risk. All these are extremely important terms, which will help them not only build up their own profile, but will also help them to get noticed when they're speaking to senior professionals in the industry. These are topics which are being discussed as panel discussions. If you see on LinkedIn, a lot of topics are again related to sustainability. Another very key area, which is perhaps digressing from the finance side, is on diversity, inclusion, and equality. Again, a very, very important area, right? Now, for example, if I just talk about these NAC rankings that every college goes through. Now, what are the criteria that they go through? There are points on research, there are points on placement internships, there are points on industry academic connects, and you also find points now on ESG and diversity, equality, and inclusion, right? So this is how I think the students need to understand what are some of the future learning that I can start doing it at the college level itself. I would suggest start doing some bite-sized learnings, certifications on these areas, and see for yourself if you are interested in doing something which is more in detail and more in depth, right? Start focusing your energy perhaps more on doing things which are more practical in nature. And I think especially when you are in your first year and second years of your college life, if I talk just about MBAs, you still have a lot of time to learn. And trust me on this, and probably the other panelists will second my thoughts. Once you are working, you're mostly working for 12 to 13 hours in a day. trust me, if someone asks you to do a certification, it is 3 times, 4 times more difficult. So whatever you can add to your kit bag, if I may say so, right now, please do so in the form of bite-sized learning, in form of professional certifications. Go a long way in shaping up your career and your future as well, and try to learn as much as you can. Also, I think some really good internship opportunities, and please don't think about the money for internships. I get that question a lot, that what stipend I'll be paid if I get this internship. I think your focus should be on the learning and not on what stipend you're paid, and try to see that your internship is more inclined towards where you want to finally see yourself getting placed into the market. So these are a few things. Again, coming back to your question, Dr. Dhananjay, if they want to be more noticeable, they want to get employed, I think some of the professional certifications can add a lot of value along with their curriculum that they're doing right now as part of the MBA. Yeah, over to you.
Great, Jasmine sir. I just very like your comments on micro credentials and how this no, back office operations like KPOs and large companies, financial companies are recruiting from India. We have very big companies like Broadridge and State Street. So many companies, the relevance of trade life cycle. Most of the organizations are outsourcing their clearing and settlement operations to India. Like this very much interesting comments, sir, here. And now I will go to Dr. S.K. Gupta, sir, and try to ask him about this field called valuation. What are the opportunities in this valuation? I have seen interesting articles and is huge specialization in this valuation field.
Yes.
Please, sir.
Sure, certainly. So I have spent about 42 years till now in industry, and I've been a visiting faculty for over 3 decades in many of the B schools, handling courses in valuation, integrated reporting, management accounting, corporate governance, corporate laws, and things like that. And currently, I'm the managing director of a company floated by the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, specially to look at the valuation field. So I told you that there are many companies today in the marketplace which have profitless turnover, cashless profit, but their valuations are very, very high. Valuation is actually the pivot around which all economic and financial decisions are taken by everyone. Be it at the personal level, be it at the corporate level, valuation is the mantra around which almost everything revolves. Look at the valuation of Zomato. Zomato came out with a public issue a few months back. The company has a current year turnover of 2,600 crores. The company has a current year loss of 2,300 crores. The company has accumulated loss of 4,300 crores. But in spite of such bleeding financials, the company's issue, IPO, was oversubscribed 38 times. And the company was able to place its shares in the stock market at a price of 76 per share. That's the crux. That valuation is looking at the future economic potential of an asset to generate returns, future economic benefits that one can expect to generate and derive by acquiring an asset at this point of time. That's what valuation is all about. So you need to do valuation for various activities, various provisions of the company that 2013 require valuations to be done. When you issue ESOPs, when you issue sweat equity shares, when you go for preferential issue of shares, when you go for mergers and acquisition, whole lot of areas where valuation is mandatorily required to be done. Similarly, under Ind AS, you have to do fair valuation. You have to arrive at the valuation of various financial instruments and other assets. You have to do impairment testing. All this requires valuation. Even under SEBI guidelines, valuation is required under takeover code. Under FEMA, valuation is required both for inbound and outbound investments. Under Income Tax Act, valuation of unquoted equity shares and valuation of transactions of transfer pricing are all mandatorily required to be done. The huge scope of this specialized aspect or arm of finance, the valuation, and you can definitely add value to yourself, definitely add a punch to your CV by doing a small, or what Jasneet rightly mentioned, a bite-sized certificate course in valuation. We also offer that. I'm not doing marketing out here, but then our organization also offers bite-sized certification for the valuation certificate for various college students. You can check out even elsewhere, but definitely knowledge, understanding, and practical insights in the domain of valuation are definitely going to arm you with much more employable skills as compared to those who don't or who haven't ventured into that particular field. Valuation is the prime activity which involves almost every corporate. You have 21 lakh companies in India, out of which 15 lakh companies approximately are active. Most of these companies, even if you look at half the companies, maybe even 1/3 of the companies are going in for these kind of corporate actions, right issue, sweat issue, buyback of shares, takeover code, mergers acquisition. Look at the employment potential that exists within the domain of valuation in the marketplace. I'm sure as part of your corporate finance, you must have a chapter, at least a module, in which you are taught about mergers and acquisition, valuation, and things like that. But that's only a starting point. Valuation is much wider. It would be wiser for you, much better for you, if you're going for some kind of a short-term course, maybe spread over 15 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours kind of thing. That will give you good hang of things as to what valuation is all about and how it can improve upon your employability in the marketplace. That's where you need to carefully look. Thank you. Dr. Dhananjay, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now, I would like to go to Dr. Sunil Kulkarni, sir. So normally what I observe is most of the B school graduates are shy of taking up marketing because they think that this marketing involves a lot of field work and sort of thing. I'd like to, like Kulkarni sir, to throw light on what type of rich careers are available after some experience. And people think that this marketing needs extroverted mentality, some sort of outgoing mentality, or some sort of reservations they have. Students, I would like Dr. Kulkarni sir to throw some light on that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think all these years I was trying to solve this question and convincing students that you start with sales jobs, and sales experience will help you in any future career you want to take. And as far as the job or the roles in marketing are concerned, generally we have large number of sales roles. And we have less number of brand managers or branding or product management so in terms of numbers, these roles are less, and strategy also for that matter. These positions are less, and normally they go to top tier business schools. I mean, if FMCG company wants to take a brand manager or a product manager or a market research manager, they will go to top business schools in the ranking, or even IIMs and those kinds of schools. And the problem with middle or the tier 2, tier 3 kinds of colleges is this, that the companies will come there primarily for sales kind of profiles. And the boys and the generation, they don't want to do field sales, but there are other options in field sales. I mean, if you are in FMCG or pharmaceutical company, then only every day you have to do field sales with X number of calls. But if you choose B2B, for example, engineering company, B2B marketing or project marketing, then you will be working in a team, and then you will be designing a package of a product or service or a machine which the purchaser is going to buy. And then you will first do the technical analysis, design, quotation, and then technical team along with commercial team. Then you will go to the customer, and because it's a high ticket buying, it will take its own time, and So those kinds of roles, branding, strategy, particularly B2B, project marketing, and capital equipments marketing. These kinds of roles are also available, but they are less in numbers. Even strategy also. In India, we don't have this chief marketing officer as a concept, CMO, which is very prominent in abroad. So there are now IIM Lucknow has started some program, certification to make future CMOs, chief marketing officers. So this is a new thing which is coming. Some multinational companies have this in place, but there are these special roles: brand manager, product manager, advertising manager. Everybody knows communications department, advertising agency. And the next thing which has come recently is digital marketing and social media marketing. So I think those who are not interested in sales, these days the boys are going into digital marketing and social media marketing, which is otherwise also their pastime. They keep looking Facebook and Instagram every now and then. So how that same social media can be used for business development. So there are certifications, there are courses which will give you, but these kinds of jobs are also coming up more: digital manager, social media marketing manager. So, but overall, if you look, they are again in terms of importance and in terms of their role in the big overall marketing setup, which where you are, you start manufacturing or you offer a service, and then you through intermediaries or through franchisees or through wholesaler retailers, so you finally reach the end customer. Or if you are in a mall business, then you have a retail mall placed in, and then the customer comes and buys from you. So, but in all these areas, somehow the Indian environment, business environment, he's creating more roles for sales jobs. Maybe because our population is more, and if you, I mean, every 130 crore, if you divide it by 5 households, then we have almost 40, 30, not 30 exact, 20 to 30 crore households. And if you take one household as a buyer, I mean, your family, or you have so many things you buy as a family unit. And to cater that kind of requirement in India, we need more salespeople. And that is why perhaps in India, the marketing or the strategy part of it, or the branding part of it, or the market research part of it, or the consumer behavior part of it gets slightly under the shadow. And sales becomes more in terms of companies also coming for that kind of profile. And the sales is tough, as we know. But these days, digital, you can do some part of sales by using digital and social media. And, so that way the sales jobs are becoming less tougher, you can say. Again, this depends on the product, what kind of a product you are offering, what is the segment you are catering, urban market, rural market, who is going to use this. So considering all those factors, I think we have more sales opportunities. But what advice I would like to give to boys or the young people is, if you can get sales plus digital marketing together, that kind of a role, that will give you openings for both sides. Because if you just take digital marketing, it seems to be a limited field, and it is slightly away from the main business battle which happens in sales. I mean, either high ticket sales or low ticket sales, or B2B, FMCG, pharmaceutical sales. So if you want to grow, then we can or one should be, if somebody is ambitious and if he wants to reach the top, then I don't think that by the route or by remaining in digital marketing and social media, he can rise or he can come to the main line of business. Main line of business is sales. So that is where the knowledge and experience and, once you are in sales, even top FMCG companies, they also take their all sales representatives or future managers through sales jobs, initially for 6 months or 1 year. And we hear so many interviews of these CEOs who started their career in sales. I mean, they started doing bazaar sales somewhere in rural part, and there I did 6 months stint and 3 months stint, and then he got into product manager, brand manager, and that way today he is the CEO or CMO. So this is the issue with the young people. We have to tell them that there are possibilities. Once you start with sales, there is possibility that you can get into product management, brand management, market research, advertising. But if you don't accept the sales job at the beginning itself, then all your future roads are closed. And my students whom I have been telling last 15, 20 years that sales, you take up sales, it's initially hard, but you will become smart, and because of the commission things, you will earn a lot of money. So those who have done that with a lot of preparation and professionalism, sales is not for everybody. You need to prepare. It's like a soldier and you are into a business war. So if you prepare with that mindset and get into it, you can become best person earning highest commissions. And you can have a lot of freedom also. You can be in your own area. You can be the boss, area manager, regional manager. They are working far away from their head office, but they are doing, nobody touches them because they get the business from that area, X amount. So there are a lot of positive things of a sales career, but it is definitely hard work, and it's not a just sitting kind of job. Coming back to your Dr. Dhananjay, this introvert extrovert thing, I think sales job generally you need to be a talker. So in India at least, and you need to multi-languages, multi-things also, not to build relations. You have to start with the regional language and Kannada, Hindi or whatever it is in sales jobs initially when you are working in the field. But if you are introvertish, if you are creative kind of thing, maybe you can do good in branding. Maybe you can come out with campaigns, and maybe, you can design strategies. Maybe with now digital media, social media, you combine traditional and digital and some. So there is scope for introvertish kind of people also in creative jobs like branding and advertising and communication, this also. But for pure sales job, I think it is better to be on the extrovertish side. That is what I feel. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It is very nice listening to broad range of things like from branding, product management, various types of sales, pharmaceutical sales, and coming to valuation and securities markets and back office operations, investments. So it's basically listening to people. That itself. Even though now we have a lot of internet sources, Google and all these things, but unless we listen to a real person, that itself sharpens the students. That it gives a some sort of a soul to this discussion. I'm really very much take pleasure in this discussion, sir. To wind up sort of, I request 1 minute closing remarks from each of you, sir. I will start with Justice, sir, again. I can't stop remarking on the very bright turban Justice, sir, is having. Very, very nice. And I request Justice, sir, to have a closing remarks.
Yeah. I think, one mantra which one of my mentors had told me, that if you want to be a successful CEO, and this was told to me like almost 15 years back. So, I've added one more thing to it. He said, you need to have very good knowledge in two areas. One is finance and the other one is law. And recently I've realized that now if you want to be a very successful CEO, you need to have good knowledge in finance, law, and technology. So with that, I think that self-explains that, what are the areas that you should focus on. Of course, I'll go back to my alphabet T, theory, where you need to have good knowledge in, most of the areas, but at least be a super specialist in one area so that you can tell that, this is where I'm an expert in, right? So I'll leave it with that thought. I know we've just kind of over time as well. But I wish all the students, boys and girls who have joined us, all the very best. And if they wish to, connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm available. I'll be happy to kind of take questions post the discussion also. And thank you, Dr. Dhananjay, for inviting me for this particular panel discussion. Very useful. And a big thank you to my fellow panelist, Dr. Gupta, as well as Dr. Sunil Kulkarni also. And I look forward to having a word with them in the future as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I will go to Dr. Gupta, sir,
Yes, please.
for
Thank
final
you. I
remarks.
think my message to the student is you got to choose whether you want to be. I'll first, maybe you can understand a bit of Hindi, all of us. Sukhi Ram versus Dukhi Ram. You want to be Sukhi Ram in your life, you want to be Dukhi Ram, you want to be a happy person, you want to be a miserable person, it's all up to you. And that's where your career choice plays a very, very important role. If you get fixed somehow into a wrong role, wrong position, wrong domain, I think it's going to be miserable for you in your life, and your career also will not progress. You've got to be very, very careful choosing a particular career option for you and then start preparing for that in the right earnest. In terms of creating those kind of abilities, skills, which are required for mastering that particular employable option, and also doing some kind of certifications to add value to your CV and also to your personality. With that, I'll leave it here. I would be open and very, very happy to mentor the students if that's the policy of your college. You can assign a certain number of students to me. We can have a weekend chat over Google, over Zoom, whatever, and probably whatever little I know. I've spent over 42 years in industry so far. Maybe whatever I can guide for the students, it'll be my pleasure. Thank you so much, Dr. Dhananjay, for inviting me to this very, very enriching panel discussion, and thanks to my co-panelist, Mr. Kulkarni, Mr. Bindra. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I will go to Dr. Kulkarni, sir, for his final
Yes.
remarks.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for the opportunity. And as Dr. Gupta and Mr. Bindra said, these our times, we will agree, Dr. Dhananjay and Gupta will agree that our times we had only engineering and medicine.
Absolutely.
So there were two choices. And from that, now we have come to this stage where you have so many choices. And the world, as Dr. Gupta has said, it is so changing fast. So as Dr. Gupta said, you should not really, label yourself as a marketing guy or a finance guy. You start with that, but over a period of time, and keeping that Ikigai as a concept, every 2 year, every 3 year, see what is coming, what is growing, and business analytics, machine learning. So do some certification, do some additional project, try to shift in the same company where you are. If not, then only you change. And big multinational companies give you plenty of opportunities. In fact, it is their philosophy, they rotate you. So if you join a multinational, I think more or less your career will be taken care by the company itself. Right? Hindustan Unilever and Procter and Gamble, those kinds of companies. There you have to just say that I want to try this, and they will make arrangements and see you with that, they'll shift to that department. But if you're working in tier 2 and tier 3 companies, then as Dr. Gupta and Mr. Bindra said, you have to be, every 2-3 years, you have to see learn new things you have learned. So one single advice is constant learning. And everybody knows these days, IT guys becoming, without jobs at the age of 40, 45, those who don't learn new things, new skills, and that kind of a scenario. So only advice is keep learning and don't stick and don't label yourself as this marketing guy or this guy. Start with something and keep on developing, growing around, by certification, by projects, shifting industries, even startups, and these things are also possible. So that is what it is. You have to be more, as Dr. Gupta said, you have to be more serious about your career now than our times.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It's very enriching discussion. I can, just to summarize, that is, follow your passion,
Yes.
T skills, and be flexible and observe the environment and grow your skills like your analytics and whatever new things are coming up. So it has been a wonderful
Thank you so
discussion.
much, sir. Thank you, sir.
We'll keep in touch with you and take your
Sure,
help in
sir.
mentoring
Sure,
our
sir.
students.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
Anytime, anytime.
It is my
Yes,
pleasure,
sir.
sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Good day.
Good day.
Thank you.
Mr. Mindra.